Africa. Leave us one.
Hey everyone, this is Africa Live as One. My name is Ishema from Mosem Foundation. Welcome in today's episode. But I'm not alone. We have a guest today. His name is Marko Radojevic. Okay. Thank you, Marko. So you are welcome. Can you tell us more about you? Who are you? What do you study? And where you come from?
Yes, of course, with pleasure. Hello, everyone. Hello, dear African friends, and may I wish you good health and happiness forever and always. My name is Marko Radojevic. I am a resident of the Republic of Serbia. I live in Europe, and I live in the capital of the Republic of Serbia, Belgrade, a city that has 2 million people. I'm currently a third-year student of the Faculty of Political Science, University of Belgrade, and my major is International Relations. Some of my hobbies that I have and like to do in my free time is to explore my city. Then I like to research about history because history is my love, history is my passion. I also like historiography, heraldry, which is the science about coats of arms, vexillology, the science about flags, and I also like sports such as swimming, pool, basketball, and mini golf. I have chosen my course, International Studies, because I have always had great interest in the countries around the world and in its people, in its culture, and in its food. And I have always wanted to know more about the other people around the world, what they do and what are their customs.
Thank you, Brother Marko. And as we are going to talk about Pan-Africanism today, I would like to know, when was your first time when you heard about Pan-Africanism? Yeah, when was your first time?
The first time that I have heard about Pan-Africanism was about when I was 14 or 15 years old. I was still I was in between junior school and middle school, and I have searched about this term on the internet. However, I did not deeply analyze it anytime. It was just something that was interesting to me, and I wanted to check it quickly. Over the time, I started to research more about Pan-Africanism and just how important it is for all the Black people around the world. And this is when I started to actively follow it. I have taken up ideas of Pan-Africanism because my people within my country sympathize with the African people who have been under the colonial rule of the other European powers, such as Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Germany, Great Britain, and to a certain extent also Denmark, Sweden who had the coast of modern-day Ghana. All of these countries who also, of course, I cannot forget the Netherlands, Belgium, who had very gruesome regimes of colonial rule, and they must not ever be forgotten. So because us Serbs have had very turbulent history, just like the people of Africa, very turbulent history, because just like the African people have been conquered by the European powers, we were also conquered during the Middle Ages by one very powerful entity known as the Ottoman Empire. It swiftly conquered the entirety of Southeastern Europe, also known as the Balkan Peninsula, under its control. And for 500 years, Serbia used to be subjugated by the Ottoman Empire. Only 500 years later was Serbia able to begin its fighting for freedom against such an oppressive regime that was the Ottoman Empire, which did not allow religious freedoms, it did not allow cultural freedoms. It was a very authoritarian and horrific tyrannical nation to live under if you were not a person coming from that country. So this is why I've seen very gruesome things happen to our poor people of Africa who we sympathize with, especially the Belgian colonial rule, how horrible it was, that essentially the Belgians would determine whether someone would be a slave or a slave lord based on the length of their nose. If someone had a short nose, they would be the slave lord. If someone had a long nose, they would be a slave. And the slave lords would treat the other, which were also Africans, they would treat their other African brothers and sisters horrifyingly, because they would be getting benefits and prestige from the Belgians, and they didn't want to lose this. This was one very tyrannical and gruesome rule. It is horrible. If you would do some little felony, they would go ahead and they would cut away your foot, then they would cut away your hand, and then the other hand and the other foot, until you will be like this, without any hands or feet. It is catastrophic. So this is why I have, after seeing the people of Africa be oppressed so much, not just in Africa, but also in the United States. Martin Luther King, a great proponent of Pan-Africanism, who was assassinated because of his views. We must not forget how significant of a contribution he brought to the African people, but also other revolutionary African leaders such as Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. We also have Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia. We also have the President of Zambia. Host, please remind me the name. I forgot the name. I cannot hear you. Microphone. Kenneth Kaunda, just remembered, yes. So this is why I have become a supporter of Pan-Africanism.
Okay. Thank you, Marko. I think this is a surprise because many Africans believe that only Pan-Africanism only exists in Africa. Because some says that even all the Europeans are the imperialists. So, brother, can you tell us more? What is imperialism? Can you tell it to Africans what is imperialism?
When it comes to imperialism, we must make a distinction about the forms of imperialism. We have two of them. The milder form, there are two separate terms of subjugation of other peoples around the world. First one is colonialism. Colonialism and imperialism. Colonialism is something that predates imperialism. Colonialism is when another power from around the world comes to conquer some part of a different continent that did not belong to them ever in history previously, because the people of that nation never inhabited this place ever before. Such as, let's say, the Spanish people came and colonized all of South America, all of Central America, plus the southwestern United States of America today, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and other states currently in the United States of America. So this is colonialism. And colonialism, what is very specific about it, it only sticks to the coastline, Whereas imperialism means that these nations that began colonialism before now want to expand even more. They want to expand even more. They want to expand into the core of this continent, which they have began colonizing. This is why there was a very bad historical event known as the Scramble of Africa that took place during the final years of the 19th century, when there was the conference, I believe this was the Berlin Conference, where the European powers were essentially agreeing on who is going to get what in Africa. Many countries had different ambitions, but this is not a topic for this day. So colonialism is controlling another region around the world only on the coastlines, where the sea is. But imperialism, it means going through the core of this continent. That is imperialism. And this is exactly what was happening in Africa, in Indochina, in South America, in Australia, in North America, perhaps pretty much every single continent outside of Europe, essentially. So, what else I would like to mention there? It is very monstrous and horrifying to see how quickly The European powers were able to conquer Africa for only a couple of years, and how they had no care about the peoples of Africa. They have only cared whether what they are going to get, the mineral resources, because we know that Africa is the richest continent when it comes to natural resources in the entire world. Botswana, for example, has the best quality of diamonds in the entire world. Libya has the biggest reserves of oil in Africa. Congo is also very well known for its diamonds, Democratic Republic of the Congo. So it is very significant to point all these things out. Ethiopia is very significant because of its many rivers and controlling the river flows. For example, the Ethiopian River Dam, which plans to be finished by 2030, I believe. So why I support Pan-Africanism is because I believe imperialism is absolutely wrong. There is nothing that could justify imperialism. There is nothing that could justify someone coming at your doorstep and then proclaiming this land to be his when you have lived on this land for centuries. This is not justice. This is not moral. This is not right. And even today, there is a third form of subjugation known as neocolonialism. This is what
I had also to ask you. Thank you. I had also to ask you about neocolonialism because for now I have a chance you are from Europe. There is a question many Africans ask themselves. They said that the way the Western imperialist countries have power. So, in these days of neocolonialism, do you think that it is possible that Africa will get rid of neocolonialism according to the power the Western countries have? Because, for example, when leaders like Gaddafi tried to do something that had to liberate Africa, they killed him. Even like you mentioned Thomas Sankara. So do you think that these things, it is possible?
Yes, I believe that this is indeed possible. Nothing is impossible to do in the world. However, lots of hard effort, determination, and non-stop work must be put into this project, into this ambition and plan and goal, in order for all of the people of Africa to reach it. Otherwise, it will fail, and the entire continent of Africa will just end up in its colonial situation that it found itself a century ago, which is something that we all wish to avoid. The people of my country included, who are very well familiar how it feels like to live under a foreign rule for such a long period of time. We are very familiar with this, and this is why we sympathize with the people of Africa. And this is why I must point out that I'm, first of all, dear African friends, I am very much aware that you believe that all of us Europeans are imperialists, that we wish to subjugate Africa. But this is not true. This is true for Western Europe, and they are very rich. And the riches that they've gotten is exactly because of their exploitation of natural resources that they found from other places in other regions around the world, which they have unjustifiably stole from these wonderful and beautiful and diverse cultures, which they have never had any justification to do so. Never in history did they have any legitimacy to do such a thing. We should ask these European countries but before that, they have done this. We have not done this. We have suffered the same fate that the African countries have. We have suffered the same fate. So we were also colonized in our way. Serbia was conquered 3 times. We were conquered by the Ottomans. In World War I, we were conquered by the Austro-Hungarians. And in the Second World War, we were conquered by the Germans under the National Socialists. So we are very well known. We very well know what it means. And we know that our friends in Africa, my friends in Africa, and of course, Ishema Tusen, you all believe that we are hostile to the African people, but no. Perhaps Western imperialists, yes. But Eastern countries, they have never really experienced such a level of power where they could colonize. They have never been able to experience this. So we have greater sympathies for the people of Africa because of this reason. And when it comes to the whole idea of getting rid of neocolonialism, it is
Of course.
possible, yes. But you must get all countries of African people need to work together in order to technologically get more and well advanced. Take into consideration our great friend Muammar el-Gaddafi, eternal ruler of Libya, who was very sadly ousted and killed in 2011. A great Pan-Africanist who, for a time, all African leaders and tribal leaders recognized as the Emperor of Africa, because he was so good, because he financed all the countries in Africa below the Sahara. He helped everyone. He was so unselfish. He had a very wonderful project how to help his people. And this is the great example of the potential that Africa has. The Great Man-Made River Project, which was this was a project made by Muammar el-Gaddafi to get underground water from south and central Libya, which is Sahara, to get it to its centers of population in the north, namely Tripoli, Tobruk, Benghazi, Sirte, Fezzan, and other cities. And he has been able to finish 3 phases of these projects. 5 of them, the other 2 have not been finished because of the civil war that sadly the Western imperialists have created, because they did not like Muammar el-Gaddafi's independent foreign policy, which he has been supporting for so long, which is of great shame, of course. So it is possible. People of Africa just need to work together and do not take help of international corporations. Avoid multinational companies. They will use you, they will use your resources, they will not be thankful, they are not there to help you, they are selfish. They will usually, the money that they receive from these resources that they gain, they will not put it in the economies of Africa. They will put it in their own private bank accounts somewhere in the world.
I hope you see now the politics in Africa. So I have a question. When Russia is defeated in Ukraine by the Western countries, do you think that Africa will get the chance again to say that, hey, we don't need their politics in Africa? Do you think that Africa will be free from the Western imperialist countries?
I don't think so. I think that would make the situation for Africa much worse if Russia is defeated, because then the world that is finally beginning to become more multipolar will take a great hit, and the world will go back to its Pax Americana state, so American domination around the world, which is something that we want to avoid at all costs.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Continue.
We want to, if we wish to get rid of any influence that multinational companies, corporations have on Africa, also the Western imperialists, there needs to also be a situation in the world outside of Africa where 2 sides can balance each other out, so that they can balance each other out. So this is the principle known as the balancing principle. Yes, the principle of the balance of power. And if Russia is defeated, then the Western imperialists will know that they have no enemy. Nothing can stop them. They are unstoppable, invincible. Just like Hitler thought that he was invincible against Russia. And then they will proceed to attack. They will ask more and more benefits, more profits, more fortunes and more money will be accumulated in the world top 10 people. And the percentage how much world wealth they will control will just keep on growing if this continues, if Russia fails, because then they will be able to ask for more, and then Africans they will not be able to have any alternative. Perhaps the other alternative could be China. China is having great projects, financing the mega projects of Africa, helping Ethiopia build its Grand Ethiopian Dam, building roads, highways. It is helping Africa to develop a lot. and helping it to develop its great mega projects. And I'm sure that even in Rwanda, there is some project that China is currently helping to establish and to make possible. So,
Brother, speaking about China, I heard this many times, especially to the Western media. They said that also China is trying to colonize Africa, little by little. How is your view about that?
anyone who is outside of Africa obviously has economic interests in the region. But I like to look at China, besides those economic interests, that China also has moral interests to truly help these countries develop. I like to look at China as the new Yugoslavia. Why do I say new Yugoslavia? Because during the Cold War, when there were two blocks in the world, the Western Bloc and the Eastern Bloc, there was also the non-aligned movement led by Yugoslavia and its eternal president Josip Broz Tito. There was India and its Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. There was Indonesia and its president Sukarno. Then there was, of course, also Ghana and its leader Kwame Nkrumah, a very prominent leader within this very prominent leader, one of the 5 leaders. And then the other one was, of course, the first African Egyptian president Gamal Abdel Nasser. A very great, although he strived more for the idea of an united Arab nation more than the African nation. Still, he was an anti-imperialist. He was an anti-neocolonialist, and he wished for all African nations to become free. So Yugoslavia at this time helped African nations to develop, and it truly wanted to help them develop. It had this great wish, great desire, truly great desire to go ahead and help them. Very great desire to go ahead and help them. But it also had its own economic interests in the region. For example, the biggest Yugoslav company at the time was called Energoprojekt, and it helped Zambia, and at the time Kenneth Kaunda, to build a very, very big multinational hall where great conferences and events could be held. Arena. It helped them to build an arena. So Yugoslavia was building many projects in Africa. I like to believe that China is doing the very same thing today. China is financing these situations.
Continue.
Yes. China is financing these projects today in Africa. Maybe the moral aspect of China is less today than it was with Yugoslavia before, because it seems that China seeks more economic interest than moral help, but still it is better than what Western imperialists do, and they only search for. This is why I believe that China also has sincere wishes to help the continent of Africa. However, the economic interests are perhaps a greater focus of China than its intention to help, to truly help the nations of Africa to develop.
Many youth of Africa in these days, they said that for us we cannot do anything to unite Africa. Many Africans or many youth don't believe in themselves. They just say that we cannot go in politics. These things, it is for the politicians. Our presidents are the one to strive for the united Africa. On their side, they are not interested, okay? And they don't believe in themselves. What can you tell them?
So a message that I would like to send to all the youth of Africa who believe that they are demotivated, that there is no hope of Africa ever being a united country in the future, not just a continent with many, many, many nations. I would like to say the following. Dear African friends, you are my friends. Do not lose hope. Please. You are not alone. You are not alone. You have other friends from around the world, such as myself. I will be there to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help the cause of Pan-Africanism. And I have tried to work myself to contribute to the elimination of poverty in Africa using some method of using some uses of through the United Nations. I have tried to give my own contribution to help the elimination of hunger and poverty in Africa. It's not much. I've been able to donate $20, so it is not much, but I have been able to donate at least a little bit, and I'm trying to help the cause on my own. Pan-Africanists outside of Africa, I would not say they do. It is not true that they do not exist. They do, in fact, exist. I am one such example. However, they are very difficult to find because it is very difficult to see someone fighting for the ideas of Pan-Africanism outside of Africa, besides someone who went to study abroad or to live abroad. So only originally Africans. But there are also people such as myself who are interested in the ideology of Pan-Africanism. And trust me, you have my support, and you will always have my support. You can count on that. You can count on me. Marko is always here for you. You must not give up. What I can do on my behalf is spread the word of Africa. Spread the word of, for example, Thomas Sankara, Haile Selassie, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Nelson Mandela, Kenneth Kaunda, Kwame Nkrumah, Ahmed Sekou Toure, and other, of course, Muammar el-Gaddafi and other significant rulers. But when it comes to the fighting, this is something that you must do by yourself. You must not let the politicians decide for you. You must take matters into your own hands. And this is something very, very important. This is something that they teach us in my college. We need to think with our own heads. We need to think. Because if we don't think, we will all fail. So we need to think with our own heads. We need to always be ourselves. We need to be united as one. We must always do this if you wish to succeed. I will spread the words of Africa. I will be spreading the words of Pan-Africanism and how beautiful Africa is. It is not impossible. Take, for example, the countries of Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and also the additions of South Sudan, Congo.
Yes, East Africa.
Exactly. For a couple of years, if God allows, we will be able to see the East African Federation, the most beautiful project of unification the world has ever seen, the world will ever see. This is something that other regions of Africa should also strive for. For example, the countries that gained their political independence, that are not monetarily dependent on France anymore, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Guinea, yes. These three countries who have been suspended from the French-led West African Monetary Community. I'm not sure what its name is exactly. Dear host, you know this better than me. Do not give up on your dream. Do not give up on your dream, because this is not only the dream of Africans. This is also the dream of some Europeans, like me. It's my dream to see an Africa united from Rabat to Durban, and Africa from Cape Town to Cairo to Alexandria. Is my goal. So also an Africa from Mogadishu to Dakar. We can do this. You can do this. I will be here to support you. I will always be here to help you. Whoever wishes to, whoever needs my help, I will be ready to come and to spread the word of African Pan-Africanism. You need not to give up. Think with your own heads. Do not accept any help from the Western imperialists. Think with your own self and cooperate. Keyword, cooperate, cooperate, cooperate. Rely on yourselves. Be friendly. You are brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters always work together. They never turn your back against one another. because you depend on one another. You depend on one another very much. And this is why you must never disappoint or backstab each other. This will be the failure of Africa. You will fail Africa, all of Africa and all of its people, because their lives depend not on the authoritarian dictatorial presidents, such as, for example, Robert Mugabe. They depend on you, dear African friend, you who is watching this. It is you who can make a change. It is what they're teaching us in college. The future generations are the ones that will change everything. And you're the one who can change everything. You.
Okay.
You.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. So in the remaining time, I have maybe the last question to ask you. Let's go in the strategic way. So do you think that nationalism can save the development of Africa?
So nationalism as a concept means that we love our country, but we also respect the other countries that are around us. This is what nationalism truly is. That is true nationalism. Someone who loves their own country but hates another country, this is not nationalism. No. This is the wrong interpretation of nationalism. This is its twisting of the term, and it is wrong. That is not right. True nationalism is love for your own country, respect for another country, and sharing the love of these two countries or more countries. For example, I'm a nationalist. I'm a universal nationalist because I love all countries around the world. I love all countries from Mexico to Japan, from Cambodia to Argentina, from Morocco to South Africa, Lesotho, Swaziland. I love all of these countries and I wish to know more of them. Africa fascinates me and I wish to travel to Africa one day. My huge wish is to meet the local tribes and to spend time with the local tribes. This is nationalism. That is a true nationalist who can love another country equally as he loves his own country. That is real nationalism. So, yes, nationalism can help Africa, but only in the form of Pan-African nationalism, not Senegalese nationalism, Sudanese nationalism, Rwanda nationalism. This cannot help. This will only destroy Africa, and you must not allow this.
Well said.
You must not allow this. Pan-African nationalism is the goal, is the dream. Dream that will become reality.
Africa, leave us one.
Today's guest was Marko Radojevic, but I like to call him Brother Marko because he is now the friend of Africa. Yeah, he supports the unity of Africa. In other words, he is one of us. Thank you, Brother Marko, for your time for today's episode.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure to be able to be with you, Ishema Toussaint. I will always be glad to do this. You are welcome.
This is episode 1 on Pan-African nationalism. I was your host today, Ishema, and our guest was Marko Radojevic from the Republic of Serbia. Before you go, tell us about yourself or give us a comment on this episode. Visit our website africaliveas1.org and don't forget to follow us on our social media, Muslim Foundation and Africa Live as One Movement.